I got a DM from Dana White letting me know that I was officially invited to Power Slap 8 out in Las Vegas at the Fontainebleau. I figured this would be a great time to knock out 2 for the price of 1 and also enter the Wynn 3,500 4 million guarantee poker tournament. But more on that later. First, we had to meet up with Dana to say hi and thank him for the invite. I arrived at Power Slap with my buddies Reese and Gio. Before the event started, I chatted with a lot of my fellow degenerates, including Vegas Matt, Bryce Hall, Rampage, and quite a few other big names as well. We wet our whistles with some social lubricant and proceed to our seats, where we can't wait to watch some of the best slappers in the world battle it out on the stage. If you're not familiar with Power Slap, I'll just let the clips do the talking for me. Bearing witness to a symphony of resounding face slaps, we head over to the casino to get our gamble on.
Whoa, we got a real camera here. Poker, brother. You play poker, brother? Poker. Yeah, Will.
We managed to catch a glimpse of Dana White, his son Aiden, Exposed, and Taylor Lewan battle it out against the casino in the high-stakes Baccarat room, which, let me tell you, definitely isn't for the faint of heart.
Come on, Chop. Chop. Natural. Me natural, not you. Ah, motherfucker. God damn it, as soon as I go $250,000 too.
I wanted to get in on the action myself, so later on I sit down with Bryce Hall and Tfue for some 300 minimum blackjack in just the other room over. A huge crowd gathered to watch Bryce try to spin it up, but Vegas wasn't built by winners, so I'll let you guys assume how this all ended up. After a good night's rest, I decide to head on over to the Wynn to enter their $3,500 buy-in 4 million guarantee prize pool. After my wallet loses quite a bit of weight, we find ourselves with 40,000 in chips and plenty of all-in situations on day 1. In our second level, since sitting down, we find ourselves in a classic flip. It's going to be a race, Queens versus Ace King, and the flop comes Jack 10-7. We don't want to spike a set on the turn of the river. That would give him Broadway. Luckily, the dealer obliges, putting the 9 and deuce of diamonds out there. We are going to get a full double up. We end up losing a bit of our stack, but then find ourselves in a great spot to get another double up, aces versus queen jack of spades. The flop was queen high, we get the money in, the turn and river are no good for him. Just like that, we get a double up back over starting stack once again. A few levels of not winning anything will cripple your stack, which is exactly what happens here, but luckily I get it in good with king deuce of diamonds versus 10-8 of diamonds. We don't want to see any 10 or 8. The board comes pretty interesting though, 9-7-3. Now he has an open ender. The turn gives a sweat on the 5 of spades, but the river, no help for him on the queen of spades. Just like that, we are still alive in this tournament, doubling up with king high. Back at it again, I open up pocket sixes from the hijack to 10K. The small blind sitting at around 10 big blinds, rips it all in from the small blind for 52K. Back over to me, I think pocket sixes are good enough for a call. I put it in there and we are up against ace 9 offsuit, so a classic flip going off to a run out. The flop comes king 7-8. Turn is no good for him on the 10 of hearts, giving him an open-ended straight draw this time though, but the river pairs the board and we are getting rewarded for that great call with pocket sixes. Once again, still finding some life in this tournament. After a table change and a few hands later, we end up playing 10 hours and bagging 287K off of a 40K starting stack. That's good enough for 47 big blinds heading into day 2. The very first hand, we are getting active with pocket 8s. I open it up to 16K from the 4K, 8K, 8K blind level. We're gonna get called in one spot from the cutoff, and in these tournaments, a small blind and big blind usually come along. We pick up the big blind this time and going 3 ways to the flop. Flop's good for our range. It comes ace 7 deuce with 2 spades. And after the big blind checks it over to me, I debate monkey in the middling here and checking it over to the cutoff, but I decide that I'm gonna have more of the ace king, ace queen when the cutoff doesn't 3-bet me, so I decide to put in a small bet here and try to deny some equity versus hands like king jack suited, king queen offsuit, stuff stuff like that. Luckily for us, the cutoff folds. The big blind could now call with a variation of hands. He could have some spade draws, he could have some 7-6, 7-9 suited, but apparently he has none of that, folds his cards, and chipping up nicely here on day 2, adding some much needed chips to our stack. We now look down at a6 offsuit from the small blind. Interesting spot here, could come in for a raise, or I could just limp. I decided just to limp here and try to play this tricky versus the big blind, who checks behind, and we flop ourselves a pair on a queen 6-4 board with 2 diamonds. Like pre-flop, we have both options on the table. I could bet and try to deny equity versus 2 overcards to my pair of 6s, or I could check and go for a check call line. That's what I decided to do. The big blind checks behind, giving us 2 pair on the turn, which comes the 4 of hearts. 2 pair is probably good in this spot. I wouldn't blame anyone for betting here for value, but I think that my opponent assumes I'm a little bit passive when I check the flop and turn, so I want him to blast off into me, and I'm gonna go into hero call mode. That's what I decided to do, and like the flop, the big blind checks behind on the turn. No fear, a boat is here. The 6 of clubs peels off on the river. Bang, we river a boat. Now I gotta go for value. If I had some missed diamonds or ace king, ace 10, something that wouldn't want to bet the flop or turn, I probably would go large here trying to steal the pot. So with my boat, I decided to go large as well, almost pot size for 21K. The big blind snap folds, so apparently he had nada, but 45K worth of chips heading over my way. Remember, 45K was basically a starting stack, so that's like $3,500 worth of chips coming my way. Well, probably a little bit more because we have just made the money. That's right, the bubble has burst, and we have locked up a nice hefty profit in this tournament. It's going on the Hendon Mob. An interesting hand is developing here. I couldn't start my camera fast enough. It's a big tournament, big spot, and sometimes my finger does not move as fast as I would like. But, you know, Johnny Vibes, that's his brother over there. Andrew Moreno raises it up to 24K. We are going to find ourselves in an interesting spot when there's a call in front of us, and we have ace 9 of clubs. I decided just to put in the call here. I think ripping is a little bit ambitious, and we're going to pick up the big blind as well, going 4 ways to the flop, which gives us top pair on an ace 8-5 board. We have some backdoor straight and flush ideas as well. No point in betting here out of the small blind. It checks over to Andrew, who goes for a small bet here of 34K into 3 players. Usually that would scream a lot of strength, and then when the other player puts in the call from the cutoff, now I'm wondering if my ace is even good. The cutoff could easily have called with ace 10 suited, ace jack offsuit, and when Moreno is firing out there from the +2 position into 3 players, well, he's saying he has a good hand as well. Still, I can't be folding for 34K. Look at those pot odds. I put in the call, and the pot has ballooned up to 210K, and the turn comes the 8 of spades. We lost the big blind in that last round of betting, so now we're only 3 ways. I check it over to Andrew, who checks it over to the cutoff. Cutoff checks behind, and now I'm kind of liking my hand. The river comes the 7 of hearts. I debate going for a bet, but I'm not really sure what I can get called that I have beat. Maybe a hand like ace 6 exactly, ace deuce, ace 3 suited. I'm getting snap called by any better ace, and then if they have a set of 5s, maybe 8, 9, or pocket 7s, of course we're losing the maximum as well. So I think the best option here is to check and allow one of them to bluff. Both of them decide not to bluff. They check it through. I slowly turn over my 2 pair aces and 8s with a 9 kicker. Andrew pretty quickly folds, and the cutoff looks a little bit disgusted, like he had some showdown value, but 210K worth of chips coming over my way, and we're peaking in this tournament, the most chips I've had so far. And shout out to Johnny Vibes, because the vibes are great over here in the small blind. All right, it's all boiled down to the hand of the night. I have 302K in my stack, the 10K, 15K, 15K blind level. That puts us at around 20 big blinds. There is an open to 90K from the cutoff. He's doing that weird tournament thing where he only leaves a few chips behind, so it's basically an all-in for 6 big blinds. The button now appears to be in a weird spot and just puts in the call. I look down at ace king offsuit, a perfect spot for me to go for what looks like a squeeze, jam my entire stack in there with a premium hand. That's what I decide to do. Obviously, the cutoff snap calls for like an additional 5K, and the button goes into the tank. A dream spot would be if the button folds and we go heads up with the 6 big blind cutoff, who probably has an inferior hand to my ace king offsuit. But after a little bit of thinking, the button decides it's too small of a jam. He puts in the call. This is a massive pot here, 718K. The button turns over pocket jacks, so just like that, we're in a classic race. The cutoff turns over a crappy hand, queen 9 offsuit. Look at that, we're a favorite in the hand, gonna win this 4 out of every 10 times. You can see if the button would have folded, our equity would have skyrocketed up, but it's not to be. 718K, and we're going off to a flop, which immediately rewards the button. Pocket jack, spike of set on the flop, jack 10-5, and now we're looking for a queen. The turn comes the king of spades. Look at that. The cutoff with the worst hand pre-flop now has a 71% chance to win it with a king high straight. The river card is a dud. It's a deuce of diamonds. The cutoff's gonna win the main pot. Button is gonna take the rest of our chips. Just like that, we are out of the Wynn 3,500. A massive spot here. We won a lot of flips to get to this point, but you gotta keep winning them in order to get to the final table. A really fun 2 days comes to a crashing halt, and we are heading over to the cage to see how much we won. We did a nice job laddering up from 251st place, which was a min cash of $7,000, all the way up to 136th place for an $81.87 cash out. It's a nice little profit of around $4,000. I was only in for 1 bullet. Even though that's pretty great to add to the Hendon Mob another score, I had my sights set on the final table and that $1 million top prize. If you guys want to follow the journey, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because I'm definitely going to make a deep run in the future, and I don't want you guys to miss it. If you want to check out some of my other vlogs, they'll be on the screen right now. Good luck on the felt, you guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. As always, peace!